Good afternoon. It's time for the Iman Report. It is Tuesday, October the 5th, and it's time to recap NFL Week 4. Later tonight, we'll be back on to preview college football. We're going to, of course, start off with the Thursday night game where the Cincinnati Bengals win it over the Jacksonville Jaguars on a game-winning field goal. Bad news is, in this one, that Cincinnati did not cover. Okay, but they did get the win. They are now 3-1. Are they a playoff contender? Not yet. I don't think they're a playoff contender just yet, but I do think the Bengals are trending up. Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence had one of his better games, 17 for 24 and a 96.5 passer rating. Joe Burrow, 25 for 32, 348 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 132.8. They did allow, the run defense was not good for Cincinnati, but it doesn't matter. The Bengals are 3-1. I don't think they're a playoff contender yet, but I do think they are an improving team. I think they will maybe be a 9-win, 10-win team. They'll maybe be on the bubble, but they're just not a playoff team just yet. But they are trending up. I do think Zach Taylor is going to be safe when the season is said and done. As for Jacksonville, yes, this was one of their best games of the year. I'll give them that. But now Urban Meyer made a boo-boo, you shall say, with a woman, and yeah, I 0-3, 0-4. Jacksonville's 0-4. That's now the season could be in danger of going off the rails. Maybe Shad Khan after. We're going to find out if Urban Meyer can keep the locker room after what went on over there. The future's bright in Trevor Lawrence. He's shown some flashes of brilliance. But I honestly don't think at this time Urban Meyer is the right coach. He was not the right hire. At the end of the year, it's time for Shad Khan to cut his losses and go and hire an actual quarterback whisperer for Trevor Lawrence next year. Coaches that could be better than Urban Meyer. Brian Dabble. Joe Brady. Look what Joe Brady's doing with Sam Darnold over there in Carolina. He's putting up great numbers. Got Joe Brady. You've got Kellen Moore. Scott Turner. And many other names. Sorry, Shad. You screwed the pooch on this one. It's your responsibility to go make the right hire this offseason. Go get a quarterback whisperer for Trevor Lawrence. Urban Meyer is looking more like Nick Saban in the NFL. I don't even know if he's going to finish a full season at this point. Next game. The Washington football team in a thriller beats the Atlanta Falcons 34-30. What can I say? Kudos to Scott Turner, making Taylor Heineke look like a good quarterback. Heineke, 23 for 33. 290 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Better game from Antonio Gibson with a rushing touchdown in this one. Well, maybe Matt Ryan's not completely finished just yet. 4 touchdowns, no picks. But man, I gotta say it. I've got to say it. Arthur Smith is making wonders out of Cordell Patterson. Not the running yards, but 5 receptions, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns. At the very least, maybe you try to flip and get some picks for Cordell Patterson with Atlanta going nowhere this year. You might want to flip him and get some draft picks back for him. Maybe get some picks back for Matt Ryan. But Atlanta 1-3. Washington 2-2. But the defense has regressed quite a bit this year, and that is very concerning for the Washington football team. But they're still 2-2. You got to give a lot of credit to Taylor Heineke. He is a baller. The kid can ball. And next year, you keep Heineke, you draft a quarterback behind him. Maybe you get back to, maybe last season wasn't such a fluke, after all, for Taylor Heineke. The Bills demolished the Texans 40-0. Josh Allen didn't have to be Superman. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss picked up the slack. Stephon Diggs. But it's the Buffalo defense that was back in this one, making the Texans look like the team they are. Mark Ingram couldn't get it going. Sorry, Davis Mills is not an NFL quarterback. Davis Mills is just not an NFL quarterback. But you know the good news? They could be in the market. The draft might not be as great as last year's draft for quarterbacks, but there's Matt Corral. There's Sam Howell from North Carolina. There's Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. There's some good I don't think it's as stacked as last year's class, but there's some quarterbacks coming out of this class. You got JT Daniels, who's really proven himself this year at Georgia. So there's quarterbacks out there in the draft. Davis Mills is just not the answer. Jeff Driscoll, I don't think would be any better. Maybe you go to Jeff Driscoll? Driscoll maybe better? I don't know. Driscoll hasn't shown that much service of a court. Hasn't shown that much great at being a quarterback. But it's time for the Texans to get that draft capital back for Deshaun Watson. Chicago. You know what? Justin 24-14 over Detroit. Justin Fields, you proved me wrong. You are an NFL quarterback. You are ready. Fields 11 for 17, 209 passing yards. Much better day from last week. The bad news is they did lose David Montgomery to injury, so that Montgomery is going to be out for a few weeks. That means Damian Williams will take over at running back this week. Darnell Mooney got it going this week. Allen Robinson. But you know what? You play out the season with Justin Fields at this point. What can it hurt? I was wrong about Justin Fields. He is ready for the NFL. Maybe he can 86 that Ohio State QB curse. Detroit, here's another team where, you know what? Jared Goff hasn't done bad this year in Detroit. I'll give him that. Jared Goff hasn't done bad this year. 299 passing yards, 105 passer rating. The 5 sacks is not all that great. But the bad news is I thought they were going to get their first win. Did not happen. The good news is now Detroit Detroit is pretty much in the running for a quarterback in the draft. Should they pursue that? There's other. And yeah, they could stick with Goff for another year. Goff is not an elite quarterback, for a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. But he's serviceable. And maybe you don't if you don't like what you see, if you're Detroit this year in the draft, maybe you fill other positions, wide receiver, running back, whatnot. But Detroit's going to get a win somewhere down the road. It was just not meant to be. Dallas just beats the Panthers 36-28. Dak was good. Zeke. Man, Zeke was a man possessed in this game. 143 rushing yards. Tony Pollard was not too terrible either in this one. Amari Cooper with the touchdown. Dalton Schultz with the touchdown. I'm ready to say it. 3-1, Dallas. You are a playoff contender. I dub you a playoff contender, Dallas. Dak Prescott is a great quarterback. Carolina, there is no shame in losing to the Cowboys. Sam Darnold, you know what? Granted, he got hit a lot through a couple picks, but he held his own. But now Darnold's kind of being forced to use his arm more with the absence of Christian McCaffrey. DJ Moore has become his security blanket, which is great. But we are seeing a lot more of a confident Sam Darnold under Joe Brady. Carolina is going to be a playoff team this year. They're probably going to be in the wild, whether or not they win the South or wild card. I do think Carolina is going to be one of those 3 wild card teams when the season is all said and done. Matt Rule is a great coach, and he's great job getting that team turned around in Carolina despite the loss. Indy gets their first win over Miami. Carson Wentz. This is probably the best I've seen Carson Wentz play football in a very long time. 24 for 32, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, the running game actually showed up in this one. Jonathan Taylor, 103 rushing yards. So this was a game where the Colts got their swagger back. And you know what? The South is not that great, so there is still a lot of time for the Colts to come back and win that division. It's not exactly a tall task. We'll get to Tennessee in a moment here. And Jacoby Brissett, most of the stats were pretty much padded by garbage time. Granted, Brissett might only have to start one more week until they get back Tua. But Brissett wasn't exactly terrible either. Malcolm Brown was stuffed in this game. That doesn't help things. The Miami defense has not been good the last couple weeks. So Miami's probably going to look to play better defense against Tom Brady and the Bucs next week. But this has got the feelings that this could be maybe last season was a bit of a fluke in Miami. Next one, the Browns beat the Vikings 14-7. And yeah, the Browns won. Yeah, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt got it. Kind of bailed out Baker Mayfield in this game. Baker was not good in this game. Despite winning, Baker 15 for 33, 59.5 passer rating, 15.6 QB rating. Not good. Not good if you're going to be a team that is going to be a threat to be a Super Bowl contender. Baker needs to play better. Odell Beckham needs to play better. But no, I was not where I was last year calling for the first few games last year where I was calling for Case Keenum. It's not that bad yet. But Cleveland, 3-1, the defense has arrived in Cleveland. Cleveland playing much better defense the last 2 weeks. They are 3-1. Some way, somehow, Brownies find ways to win. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook, Madison held in check. Kirk Cousins, ooh, Kirk Cousins had a stinker of a game too, luckily. Cousins had been great until this game, and then Cousins only had 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 66 passer rating, QB rating of 10. And yeah, Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison was AWOL in this game. Zimmer, 1-3. Your seat is getting hot, buddy. Bun-da-da-da-da-da-da. He is on the ring of fire. And I think it's just a matter of time till Mr. Zimmer is fired in Minnesota. This one hurt for the Saints at the Dome. G-Men beat the Saints 27-21. Daniel Jones balled in this game. Welcome to the NFL, Daniel Jones. 28 for 40, 402 passing yards, a 108.5 passer rating. One of the best games I have seen out of Daniel Jones. Saquon was nowhere to be seen. You know what? Maybe Daniel Jones is not a lost cause. Galladay showed up in this game. As for the Saints side, Winston did not do terrible in this game. Winston was okay. Kamara, great game. It was the Saints' defense that let them down in this game. They were not able to stop Daniel Jones. 2-2. I don't know what I can make of my verdict is on the Saints this year. Their Saints have looked very inconsistent this season. You know what? 1-3. Maybe this win cools Joe Judge's seat a little bit and Dave Gettleman's seat a little bit. The upset of the day in New York City. Congratulations, Robert Saleh. First NFL win for Robert Saleh. First NFL win for Zach Wilson. And this was Zach Wilson. This was the game why Jets scouts fell in love with Zach Wilson. Wilson was good. Tannehill got roughed in this game. 7 sacks. Derrick Henry, 157 rushing yards. But Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder with touchdowns. This is a feel-good win for Robert Saleh. Yes, Zach Wilson looked more like the franchise quarterback in New York in this one. Tennessee's defense has problems. Now the race to the AFC South title could become a sack race, so to say. I think that whoever does not win that division between the Colts and the Titans, that coach could be fired. That is a real possibility. Vrabel certainly has to look at bringing in a new defensive coordinator at some point. The defense is terrible with the Titans. Shane Bowen needs to be on the hot seat. Oh, wait a minute. It's no longer Shane Bowen. Never mind. Oh, wait a minute. It is still Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen, I think it might be time to consider replacing Shane Bowen with Jim Schwartz. Maybe you make Jim Schwartz your interim defensive coordinator. It's not working with Bowen. Next. The Chiefs beat the Eagles 42-30. The good news is Mahomes avoids a 3-game losing streak. Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 102 rushing yards. That's good. The bad, oh God. If there's a defense that's just as bad as the Titans defense, it's the Chiefs defense. Spagnuolo needs to be on the hot seat. It hasn't worked. The schemes have not worked. It might be time for Andy Reid to consider a new defensive coordinator and a new scheme. Philly is bad. Philly is undisciplined. Jalen Hurts had a great game, but they got a touchdown wiped out, which ended up costing them a score on a penalty. God, penalties were very costly to the Eagles in this game. The Eagles are undisciplined. The Chiefs, they look like a bubble team this year. Philly has a lot of work to do. Next, Seahawks, 49ers. Seahawks win at 28-21. This was a win. The 49ers beat themselves in this game. A lot of mistakes by the coach. This has just been a very bad year for Kyle Shanahan. The mental mistakes, the play calling mistakes, poor clock management, it's bad. Jimmy Garoppolo has become too predictable. In comes Trey Lance in the second half. I didn't think he did terrible. 9 for 18, 157 passing yards. But what Trey Lance brings you is raw talent. The kid can run. The arm's not there yet. He's got the cannon arm. He's not going to make as many completions, but that could come with time. I think for now, you see what you've got in Trey Lance, especially if this season starts going off the rails. Trey Sermon looked a lot better in this game. Sermon looked like a franchise running back. Debo is looking like a franchise receiver. Debo is having a great year. Ayuk's been a bit AWOL. And you know what? That score is a little deceptive on the defense. The defense did their job. It was penalties. Undisciplined football what did the Niners in this game. Look at the 116 for 23, 149 passing yards for Wilson. Normally that would be a win. They weren't able to stop Alex Collins a bit. They were able, for the most part, to shut down DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That's all you're asked to do to beat Seattle. Seattle, you did get the win. This is a but you're not a playoff team. I think Seattle is closer to rebuilding than contending at this point. I think the window is closing on Seattle at this point. And Seattle's got to make a decision whether it might be shit or get off the pot time for the front office. It might be time after this year to move on from Russell Wilson and rebuild. But as for the Niners, Kyle, I think it might be time, if the 49ers do not beat Arizona next week, or especially if the offense looks terrible, it might be time for Kyle Shanahan to surrender play calling to Mike McDaniel. Another surprise of the week, the Cardinals come in and dominate the LA Rams. Kyler, wow, 120.3. Kyler looks like an MVP this year. Yes, he does. Chase Edmonds had a great game, 120 rushing yards in this one. AJ Green with a touchdown. I mean, this Cardinals team, they came and sent a message. Cardinals, I dub you a playoff contender. Rams, you're still a good team. You just got trapped by the Cardinals. Stafford had probably his worst game as a Ram so far. But it was the defense that shit the bed for the LA Rams in this game. I do think the Rams are going to come back. It's going to be still a good year for the Rams. They just hit a speed. I think they're going to play angry against Seattle. We'll get to that tomorrow. But the Rams simply got trapped in this game. Baltimore, 23-7 over the Broncos. Lamar looked great in this game. Latavius Murray. But Lamar really... We've answered a lot of questions about Denver. 18 for 59 yards. Marquise Brown with a touchdown. This is a feel-good win for the Ravens. The offense got going against a good Denver defense. And, this is a win that silences the critics for the Ravens. Denver, a lot more questions raised. Is Teddy Bridgewater going to be able to go? Teddy Bridgewater did not exactly have a great game, but he does still give the Broncos a better chance of winning over Drew Lock. But Denver needs Teddy Bridgewater. In order to contend this year, they need Teddy Bridgewater. Drew Lock is showing he's not an NFL caliber starting quarterback. Drew Lock did not look good. It's time to pull the plug. Denver made the right move on bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. He is light years ahead of Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a bust. It's time to move on from Drew Lock. Drew Lock's not a good quarterback. But Denver, I'll say, is a bubble team. I'll put Denver as a bubble team. But still better than last year with the quarterback situation. Packers beat the Steelers 27-17. Rest in peace, Ben Roethlisberger. And I did not like the fact that today Mike Tomlin came in and defended Big Ben. Steelers have problems. Is it maybe even time to consider moving on from Mike Tomlin? Is Mike Tomlin on the hot seat at this point? That is another question there. Is it? Steelers don't normally fire coaches, but the Steelers haven't been this mediocre in a long time either. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger gives the Steelers the best chance at winning anymore. I think they need to go to Mason Rudolph. See what you got out of Mason Rudolph for the rest of the year. Big Ben should not be starting anymore. I'm sorry. Packers were good. Not great, though. Rodgers had a serviceable game. A.J. Dillon was good running the ball after Aaron Jones left the game. Randall Cobb with 2 touchdowns. Packers still the class of the NFC North. In a Sunday night thriller, Tom Brady's homecoming to New England. Tom Brady and the Bucks get it done over the Patriots in a rainy game. Fournette was really good running the ball in this one. Yeah, that's right. Fournette had a better game than Ronald Jones. But the future is bright in New England. Mac Jones is the right guy for them. 31 for 42 touchdowns, 1 pick, 101.6 passer rating. They just need somebody. They need a running back in New England. They might need to acquire Marlon Mack. But they need a running back to put some of the pressure off of Mac Jones if the Patriots have any chance of wanting to be a wild card contender this year. Good news for them, I think the wild card is a bit wide open in the AFC, so it might be time to spend a little draft capital, go acquire a running back if you are the Patriots. And another fun one on Monday Night Football last night. The Chargers beat the Raiders 28-14. Justin Herbert, 25 for 38, 222 passing yards. Herbert balled. Eckler went off in this one. Chargers 3-1 I'm going to say it. Chargers are the best team in the AFC so far. They're the most balanced team on offense and defense. Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to win the West this year if they keep playing like this. I am a believer in Staley over there. Brandon Staley has made the Chargers into a legitimate playoff contender in LA. Las Vegas, there's no shame in losing to the Chargers. But the defense has not looked as great the last couple weeks. Maybe the defense is a little bit of fool's gold. Jacobs was shut down. Derek Carr, the defense was able to shut down Derek Carr. Derek Carr cannot be carrying this team by himself. This was one where Gruden got out-coached. But don't fear. I actually still think the Raiders are a wild card contender, but maybe not yet for the AFC West at this point. This is where I am 4 weeks into the NFL. We'll preview Week 5 tomorrow. I'll be back to preview this week's college football games. Everybody have a good day.